So we need to talk about Kevin Durant. And I should say, I'm a big believer in letting folks live. It is not my place to tell KD what to do, what to feel. I have way too much glass in my own house to start sitting around and throwing stones. What I can do, though, is observe what's happening with Kevin. And boy, there's a lot happening with Kevin, who in the past 24 hours has given his opinion on LeBron joining the Lakers, surprised a bunch of kids flying to a basketball tournament by giving them free shoes. This is pretty cool, by the way. And gotten into a Twitter beef with Trailblazers star CJ McCollum. And in case you missed how this started, don't worry, we will catch you up. See, CJ has a podcast, and KD came on it as a guest, which is interesting in itself, as CJ was one of the players who've been critical of Durant's joining the Warriors in the first place. CJ was also one of the players who balked when the Warriors then added Boogie Cousins this summer, and on the pod, they had this hilarious but also kind of crazy exchange about that. Take a listen.
You know how I felt, bro. I was hot. I don't know if I was more mad than when you went to go. I think I was more mad.
Why are you mad about this stuff?
Bro, I'm in the league. What do you mean? Why am I mad about this? I'm in the Western Conference. I got to play you MFers all the time anyway, as it is, over and over again. We done got eliminated by y'all a few times in the first round. So I'm looking at Cuz.
You guys aren't going to win a championship.
Bro, we have the team. We have capabilities. Anything is possible. We can win a championship.
Yeah, that is KD laughing in CJ McCollum's face at the idea the Blazers have any shot to win, which made some waves on the Twitter. My Pardon My Take friend, Big Cat, wrote to CJ asking this, quote, permission to start using the B word again for KD, to which CJ replied, quote, I still think the B word is harsh and shouldn't be used. He knows his decision was soft, but I respect it. It's like getting jumped with your brothers by a gang you should have beat, then joining the gang that jumped you and your brothers 2 months later and forgetting about your bros. Okay, well, a half hour later, KD had his own reply, quote, so I would get into a gang fight, lose, plot on my brother for 2 months in our home, and then go get the gang we lost to and beat him up. You think that low of me, CJ? I just did your bleeping podcast. Snakes in the grass, boy, I tell you. Twitter, predictably, went nuts after that, so then CJ tried to de-escalate things. Instead of replying to Durant directly, he put out this, quote, there is no feud, y'all gotta chill, it was simply an analogy. I'm done speaking on KD and the Warriors because it's childish of me to do so, and soft, LOL, that'll be taken out of context. I've always said what I feel, but we all know I've never been a snake. Back to the grind. And that's true, by the way. CJ has always been real on Twitter, and he also always shows a good sense of humor, which is why when the Ringers announced that it was making KD's slogan into some merchandise, CJ quoted it with, quote, I'm going to need one of those shirts. I might need one of those shirts also. For his part, KD has not seemed to be in such a joking mood. He started arguing back and forth with a fan about the whole incident, tweets he later deleted. He did not delete this conversation with Nate Jones, who's an agent and marketer who works closely with Damian Lillard. Nate's a very insightful Twitter follow, by the way, and his note on the whole thing was this, quote, all KD's response for criticism should be, quote, I'm happy, that's all that matters. To which KD wrote back to Nate, so they keep talking, but I have to shut up? Sounds fishy to me. But you know what? I'm not even allowed to be on here since I'm in the NBA. Let me fall back. My bad. Obviously some sarcasm there, but the first part of that does get to the issue with KD. It is not what people say that bothers him, but that they're still saying it. There's a little bit of, hey, I know you don't like my decision, but it worked out well enough. I've won 2 titles and 2 finals MVP trophies. I've been philanthropic off the court. What more do you people want? And I get that. I get why he's frustrated. I also get all the people, including his teammates, who tell him he's got to have a thicker skin and just ignore the hate. But the truth is, even if Durant stops responding to every slight, these slights are likely to keep coming as long as he plays for the Warriors. That's why I've been suggesting after winning another, title or 2 with Golden State, Kevin might want to have a next chapter and try winning with a team that feels more organic. It could bring, maybe he could bring the Knicks their first championship in more than 40 years. I have a feeling he'd win over a lot of hearts and minds if he did that. I mean, there's 20 million people in New York alone, but that's for down the road. Right now, this is KD's reality, and this is clearly how he wants to handle it. All the rest of us can really do is sit and watch and try to duck as the sticks and stones fly by. Jackie, it took a while for me to get through all of those tweets, right?
It's a lot.
I saw Jackie checked her watch at one point as we got to like tweet number 6. What did you think of all of that? Did Durant overreact to CJ?
So yesterday we were on the show,
right.
and we're saying, wasn't this hilarious?
Right.
What a great thing. Isn't summer great in the NBA?
The podcast. We thought the podcast was really
fun.
fun.
It's so fun. It's so lighthearted. And I think you've hit on it with Kevin. No matter what he does, it's not enough. No matter how well he plays, it's not enough. And it gets to him. And is he thin-skinned? I will say this. Every other NBA player, if that was them being talked about, they would have the thin skin. Here's the difference. They count to 100 because somebody told them to do that, and they don't respond. And that's the difference with Kevin. He responds. He has every right to respond. You can feel the frustration. But, man, I think if it were me, I would just be like, 2 rings, bro, 0 for you, catch you in the fall. Just keep it simple.
What was it that our colleague Wright Thompson said about Twitter? That it distills the worst quality of every person? Did he overreact? Of course he overreacted. Twitter, by its very nature, is a platform that is fueled by overreaction. Now, on CJ's part, my feeling is when you have a podcast, you have to expect, and in fact, you should invite unfiltered opinion on your podcast. You should want the Christopher Hitchens treatment, right. A guy coming on throwing fastballs. So there are no winners on Twitter. There are never any winners on Twitter. And Durant might be the biggest loser on Twitter. Not he's the biggest. There are plenty of losers, but on this particular platform,
winners on Twitter too. Yay,
Twitter invites personal disaster. It is a terrible platform to communicate feelings, emotions, and ideas.
And what happened here, I think, Rachel, is after this fun little podcast that we were all enjoying, Twitter went out and was basically telling CJ McCollum, you got your head kicked in by KD. You got embarrassed by KD. He laughed at you. And so then he feels the need to respond.